speak to us on behalf of the family.
Well, as you said, my name is Harry Jr. Actually, somebody mentioned here earlier this morning that I kind of look like my father. which is why they gave me the name Skip when I was born, and that's pretty much what everybody calls me. On behalf of my brother Rick and my sister Chenda, I would like to welcome all of you here today, and thank you very much for coming. Bernice Mae Denman Dyck was born in 1919 in Fresno. Father was Howard Denman, and her mother was Vera Farley Denman, kind of the famous Grandma Vera. Mom was very active in the Masonic family. She graduated from Fresno High School along with her future husband in 1936. Her intention was to major in physical education. She wanted to be a teacher. And she went to what was then Fresno Normal School, which became Fresno State. And at that time was located on the campus of what is now Fresno City College. Mom's famous grit and determination started very early in life. This was the Great Depression. She was living as a single mother, which meant her time at college was short-lived. She rechanneled her ambition at Four Seas Business College, a local business school, and put her natural talents into running an office for Pacific Mutual Insurance. And although she knew my dad from high school, their first date was at a Rainbow Girl Grand Assembly in Santa Fe. Dad had attended with several of his DMLA buddies, and I'm sure that the official business was that was what they were there for. But the safe money is that they were there to meet girls. I'm pretty familiar with rainbow rules, and in the 1930s, you have to believe that these kids were pretty well chaperoned. Mom and Dad were married in 1939, just as the dark shadow of war loomed over Europe. And in due time, the U.S. joined that war effort. Dad grew up in a Santa Fe Railroad family in Hillsboro, Kansas. And at this time, he was working for the Santa Fe in Fresno, California. Dad was a conductor on those iconic troop trains. And when the U.S. joined the war, those troop trains played a pivotal role, mobilizing millions of soldiers across vast distances in an era when swift and efficient transportation was necessary for the war effort. Because his job was an essential occupation, Dad was not allowed to join the military. But he did his part in assisting the massive movement of military personnel and supplies. At this point, I was a toddler, being raised by Mom and loving grandparents while Dad served his country. On the rare occasions when Dad's train would come through Fresno, Mom and Grandma Vera would come to the depot for a visit. Mom would be visiting with Dad. Dad would be directing soldiers on and off the train, holding this strapping red-headed kid in his arms. Then he would give me a kiss, and off they would go, and I wouldn't see him again for a long time. We actually have color movies of those visits at the train station. After the war, Dad left the railroad, and he was home a lot more, which is how we got my brother Rick. Dad eventually went to work for the Fresno Fire Department. Mom became part of the Fire Department Auxiliary. The auxiliary would often go to fires, providing coffee, sandwiches, and donuts for the firefighters. In those days, firemen worked 24 on and 24 off. And on the days Dad was working, Mom would often take Rick and I down to the fire station in the evenings to visit. Whether it was a bustling, wartime railroad depot or on the lawn outside a fire station, Mom somehow managed to carve out family time. Dad was very active in the California Firemen's Association, and actually became the president, which required him to travel to meetings and conventions throughout the state. However, he never went alone. Mom was always by his side. In those days, the four of us lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And it was not unusual to have all kinds of firemen and their wives sleeping in the living room, lounging on the deck, around the pool. Our house was kind of party central. And boy, could firemen party. Mom was a powerhouse of a woman. Her determination to do, well, just about everything was in inverse proportion to her size. As Rick and I grew up, she worked 2 jobs. She was in the billing department of Bonner Packing Company and had another job helping her cousin Earl Farley, the son of the county recorder Elmer Farley, doing title searches. This way she was able to organize her work so that she was off during spring and during the summer. A perfect job for a mother with 2 kids in school. We were the quintessential Masonic family. My mother was the secretary of Rosina Eastern Star Chapter. Dad was a very active Mason, and Rick and I were both active in DMLA. And it will surprise no one here that Mom knew exactly how she wanted things to be done. We all knew better than to protest. When Eastern Star annual dues came around, they had about 1,000 members, and our living room was turned into an assembly line. Dues notices, envelopes, licking stamps, hand addressing envelopes, putting everything together. We were a 4-person Bernice machine. Our entire family became experts at decorating the downtown Masonic Temple for events. And at one point, Mom decided that Rick and I should take tap dancing and elocution lessons so we could be better entertainers. We were often called upon by Mom and Grandma here reciting tap dance at Eastern Star. I do need to point out that Rick will attest that tap dancing was not really his forte. After Rick and I, in turn, graduated from Fresno State, I joined the Navy. Rick left for graduate school at Harvard. Dad retired from the fire department. Mom needed something to do. She renewed her connections with the Rainbow Girls, and in true Bernice style, soon became the Supreme Deputy for California. In her 7 years in that office, she nominated 560 grand officers. She mentored and molded countless young lives, many of whom are with us here today. No matter what was going on in her life, her frisky frogs, her merry minis, Liberty lions, perky polar bears, cuddly kangaroos, adorable owls, magical monkeys, and honey bunnies always occupied the biggest place in her heart. Those of you here who are fortunate enough to be in her orbit are truly her proudest accomplishments. One of Mom's greatest dreams came true at the age of 96. She adopted my sister, Kendra. We lovingly know her as Mal. The Guinness World Record for the oldest adopting parent was reported in newspapers all over the world. It was simply one more remarkable chapter in the life of a remarkable woman. Finally, Mom had her own daughter. My sister and her family have been the absolute light of Mom's life. At 98, Mom decided it was time to sell the house, sell the car, move into a senior complex. And it was only thanks to the many dedicated caregivers Mom had over the past few years, our family was able to give her the independence she needed. Some of those caregivers are here today. I cannot tell you how thankful we are for your dedicated care. I'm here today with all of you to say a final thank you, Mom, for being a great woman who used your life to serve and to serve us all. Mom had big dreams. She wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to be a positive force for change in the lives of others and to help mold their character and prepare them for lives of service. Like so many during her time, circumstances interrupted her education, but she never abandoned her goals. Bernice played to her strengths, pouring her talents into family and innovative growth. We are all a living legacy of her belief in changing lives one person at a time. Thank you all for coming here to pay tribute to Mom. This is exactly what she would have wanted. And I'd now like to introduce my daughter Lauren to say a few